I don't know why, but it seems like schools love to make poetry as dry as a bone. Maybe it's because they take apart the craft of poetry before actually enjoying the product of poetry. So, if in your experience, poetry has been dry and tedious, this is the podcast for you. After this reading and conversation, our eyes were brighter. Welcome to the Charlotte Mason High School podcast. Here, we're discussing part 4 of the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So if you haven't listened to part 1 through 3, I would jump back in and listen to that first. I know you'll enjoy this real class I had with Adeline, who's 15, and Esther, who is 14. May you see the transformational power of a vision of beauty, and may you aim higher in your own reading with your family. Esther, will you recall what's happened in the poem so far?
I'd be happy to. So the ancient mariner was dying of thirst with the rest of his ship. And the whole sea was open and it was too sunny. And then the sun started to set. And out of the west, as the sun was setting, there came a ship. And it was like prison bars in front of the sun. And it was horrible. The ship came up and there was a woman and there was death on the ship. And they were casting dice for the mariner's soul. And then you find out that the woman is the nightmare, life and death. Terrifying. She wins the match. And so all the other men die except for the mariner. The mariner looks at his shipmates and he sees them stare at him in horror one by one. And 200 men flit away by his ear and they sound like the arrow of the crossbow.
200 times.
200 times.
Adeline, do you remember some of the big questions that we have?
What trials would he have to face through the rest of the book? I know that we wondered what would happen to the albatross if it would stay hung around his neck. I especially wondered that.
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, part the 4th. I fear thee, ancient mariner. I fear thy skinny hand. And thou art long and lank and brown, as is the ribbed sea sand. I fear thee, and thy glittering eye, and thy skinny hand so brown.
Fear not, thou wedding guest. This body dropped not down. Alone, all alone. Alone on a wide, wide sea. And never a saint took pity on my soul in agony.
The many men so beautiful, and they all dead did lie. And 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I.
I looked upon the rotting sea, and drew my eyes away. I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead men lay.
I looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or ever a prayer had gushed, a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust.
I closed my lids and kept them closed, and the balls like pulses beat, for the sky and the sea, and the sea and the sky, lay like a load on my weary eye, and the dead were at my feet.
The cold sweat melted from their limbs, nor rot nor reek did they. The look with which they looked on me had never passed away.
An orphan's curse would drag to hell a spirit from on high. But oh, more horrible than that is a curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights I saw that curse, and yet I could not die.
The moving moon went up the sky, and nowhere did abide. Softly she was going up, and a star or two beside.
Her beams bemocked the sultry main, like April hoarfrost spread. But where the ship's huge shadow lay, the charmed water burnt away, a still and awful red.
Beyond the shadow of the ship, I watched the water snakes. They moved in tracks of shining white, and when they reared, the elvish light fell off in hoary flakes.
Within the shadow of the ship, I watched their rich attire, blue, glossy green, and velvet black. They coiled and swam, and every track was a flash of golden fire.
Oh, happy living things! No tongue their beauty might declare. A spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unaware. Sure, my kind saint took pity on me, and I blessed them unaware.
This selfsame moment I could pray, and from my neck so free, the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea.
What?
Oh, that's the end.
That's weird.
Wow.
Wow, so let's talk about there.
All right. Will you narrate?
Okay. So, all the men on the ship are dead now. All of them. But their bodies aren't rotting. They just stay. And they don't smell or anything. But they still have this look on their face, this look of like a curse on the ancient mariner. And he's saying an orphan from heaven could curse a man and they'd be dragged down to hell. But worse than that is a curse from someone who's dead. Just like a body looking at you. That's so much worse. And so he's on the boat for 7 days and 7 nights. And the moon shines down. And on the shadow of the ship, there's like fire, it sounds like. And in this fire, there's these monsters. It said that there were like slimy things, and he was among them. Like he was one of the slimy things. He compared himself to them because of the thing that he had done. And so they were following him, but he blessed them instead of cursing them, I guess. And so he was praying so hard, and before it felt like he couldn't reach anybody. But now there was like something different. He knew there was like a blessing, and the albatross hung around his neck on a rope, and now it came off and fell down into the ocean and sunk like lead.
It's interesting that we thought life and death was going to be a huge deal with this, but she's not even mentioned again.
Mm-mm.
And then we come in, and then the wedding guest starts talking, and he's like, I'm terrified of you. You look like a ghost. And then he said, I'm not. I never died. So actually, lots of our questions were answered, such as that one. So I want to talk about the sea serpents. He says that there's these bunch of serpents that are crawling around. I think they're sea dragons.
Mm.
And they sound beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It says, they moved in tracks of shining white, and when they reared, the elvish light fell off in hoary flakes. And he said, within the shadow of the ship, I watched their rich attire, blue, glossy green, and velvet black. They coiled and swam, and every tract was a flash of golden fire. They sound beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It made me think of the Chinese New Year dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming through the sky or the water, and they actually got him to turn to God.
Yeah.
So they were so pretty. So that's really interesting.
Everything reminds me of the Wing Feather Saga, but these especially.
Yeah. It's interesting that the snakes, which I think dragons are a type of snake, I associate them with the same, are kind of an evil symbol so often. And so it's interesting that him noticing that beauty was what opened up his ability to pray again. And I don't know. Do y'all know why or what this could symbolize? I don't.
Add-on's coming up with something really good here.
No, I don't know. Why? See, dragons in old myths are always tricksters or evil. But then in more modern books, they're always good. They're always beautiful. They're better than humans. Like the Wing Feather Saga. They're seen as these magnificent creatures that Poto was scorned for being a dragon hunter because they were so intelligent and so amazing and just a feat of nature. And so, I don't know. It depends on the author how they see dragons.
Right.
And I think sea dragons are usually seen as more beautiful, magnificent creatures.
Or a cave dragon. It's just a hoarder of treasure and not beautiful. But yeah, you're right. I love that when the mariner saw the beauty, he was able to pray. And he blessed them unawares. Like he didn't even realize what was happening. It was not an intentional decision or strategy for getting out of his curse. It's just he saw something beautiful, supernatural, and majestic. And he's like, oh, well, this is wonderful. He blessed them. It says a spring of love gushed from his heart. And he blessed them unawares. And that's what opened up his ability to pray.
I think personally this has nothing to do with the dragon or the thing. I think this has to do with the beauty.
I'm just shocked something good showed up in this scene. It was painted as totally bleak and dreary, but there's beauty that shows up.
Yeah, there's blood around this ship. Yeah.
I've been saying when he blessed this beautiful thing and love was welling up in his heart, he was able to pray, but before the albatross fell off too. I don't know which came first. Oh, the self same moment I could pray, and from my neck so free, the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea.
So yes, I have a big connection there. In this scene, when he prays, his burden is lifted.
Right.
And this is so important for Christianity. This makes me think of Pilgrim's Progress, which is the best Christian literature ever written. Whenever Christian has his burden on his back, and he's been traveling and crying for forgiveness his whole life, then he sees the cross and he prays, and his burden is thrown down and rolls into a tomb. Beautiful scene, and it's heart-wrenching. This is what's happening to the mariner. It says he tried and tried to pray, but he just couldn't. He had too much against God. And then he sees these beautiful creatures, and his burden is lifted, and his albatross falls from its neck. And I think that's completely true of all of Christianity. We have sinned and shot the albatross, figuratively speaking. There's a token from that sin, and we have been given that burden. After that, we ask for forgiveness, and it is completely taken away. So I think that is just a beautiful picture. And I think it's so cool that it was because he saw the beauty that God had created. Also, one thing that's interesting is this book is much longer, and I still think he's going to work for his sins. So I have no idea how that's going to work.
Yeah.
Because I think this should be the end.
Yes. Yeah, you would guess.
He repents, and he is forgiven.
Yeah.
And his burden is lifted away.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's how it's going to be. So we'll see if that turns out well or not.
And he's still in the middle of the sea. You know.
Which, of course, it could be turned into a story of him overcoming the adversity of sin. Which could be good.
Sanctification.
Yes.
That fits so perfectly also with the story when Moses is in the wilderness and people had sinned.
Yeah.
Snakes were coming and biting people. People were dying. And God said, make a bronze serpent to put it up on a stick, and whoever looks will live. And so whoever looked at that, serpent would live. And then Jesus, when he comes on the scene talking to Nicodemus, says, I'm going to be lifted up in the same way, that whoever will look to me will live. And yeah, it also has the snakes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've also got to think about the moon and the sun. That's been a big theme so far. And the sun, partially it's been good, partially it's been bad. Now it's weird because the sun goes down. So that was with the life and death, and the death at sundown, they were on the sun. So now that the moon's there in this scene, it's a good thing because it's shining on these sea dragons.
Yeah.
And they're illuminated by this glorious silver light, and they're shining. They moved in tracks of shining white. And when they reared, the elfish light fell off in hoary flakes. So it was this scene of beauty. That happens often at nighttime. There's these scenes of beauty that you would never get in the daytime.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a pretty crazy time for someone to repent as well. Because in the light, you'd be seeing, at sunrise, you'd be like, look, God has granted me another day. But it's the middle of the night with the moon and these dead bodies staring at you. It's creepy. But he sees these beautiful things like a light in the darkness. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you had a really good quote. In the darkness, there's scenes of beauty that could never be in the day. Something like that. And that is so good. That fits with this. If he had never been here in this awful wilderness of a sea, he never would have seen the sea serpents. So that fits just perfectly with that theme. There's no darkness so deep that there's not going to be a beautiful scene.
I want to talk about the theme of loneliness that he sees. So he's got all these dead bodies surrounding him. That's his only company. This is a very lonely, alone, like, what do I do now? I don't have anyone to guide me. And even up until that one part, he's without God. And so that's complete aloneness. You could have all of his shipmates and still be alone because he's without God. But he's sitting there, and for 7 days and 7 nights, I would be going crazy, man. That would be terrible. I can't last 6 hours.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of Castaway when he has Wilson, the volleyball. He gets blood on this volleyball and he paints a face on it and calls it Wilson. And that's what he talks to because he doesn't have anybody. I would do that too. I have to tell people about things. I can't just be alone. And so he has this utter aloneness, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I get the impression he learns there is a saint watching out for him, but he didn't know. So he thought he was even more alone than he was. Ugh, all those dead eyes watching you. But I guess his gaze had to leave that, right, to see this. And it wasn't self-reflection that got him out. It was when he lost his view of himself and saw something greater than himself. What questions have been answered and what questions have yet to been answered? And do you have new questions?
So we know how he lost the albatross.
Yeah.
We know that he's not a ghost.
Right.
We know he didn't die.
I was surprised life and death did not show up. I wonder if she will show up again. Surely the theme of life and death has to come up again.
While we're talking
Exactly. The entire thing.
Unimportant.
I have a really good question.
Okay.
Who is his saint?
Oh.
I think if I have seen a picture of a head, I think this theme of his guardian saint will come.
Oh.
I don't think it's going to be a person.
Guardian albatross ghost.
A guardian dragon.
It looks like a guardian fairy.
Fairy? Oh.
I don't know.
Interesting. It would be interesting if this saint actually has a personality.
Yeah.
Because I assumed it was just kind of random blessing saint.
What other supernatural people / animals will show up?
I think there's going to be a supernatural figure who's going to bring up the albatross again. Look what you did.
Ace.
I think life and death and his guardian spirit are going to fight over the mariner.
Just fight. Will he get to see? No, he will.
He has to get to the wedding.
Yes. How is he going to get there? Yeah.
Okay, again, why is it so important for him to tell the wedding guest?
Yeah, that has not been answered.
Not at all. It's even less connected than it was before. I thought it was don't do what I did, but now it seems a little different.
What connection does the mariner have to the wedding guest? Is it just some rando off the street? Or did he know one of his family members who was on the ship?
It just made me realize that Samuel Coleridge reminded us of the wedding guest at the beginning of the stanza. Remember, he brought him back in. We jumped back to the wedding, right?
And then he said, look at me, I am not a ghost.
Yeah. Oh, you look too skinny to be alive.
You won't eat anything.
I'm not dead yet. Any other questions? Will he have to work for this? for getting out of this situation he got himself into? Or will it just be smooth sailing from here? No problem.
We have 3 more sections, so there's gotta be something. I'm sure the last section is the resolution. So we've got 2 more to have a lot of drama.
I bet the last section will be the wedding guest going forward in life with a transformation because of what he heard.
Yeah, probably.
He never lost the words of the ancient mariner.
Yes. And what do you appreciate about this poem?
It has given me the most thoughts of any poem I've ever read, which of course we've gone slower and talked more because of this podcast, but it's been very nice and I really have enjoyed thinking about this, and I actually think about it a lot.
That's probably because you edit it. You get to recount it quite a bit.
I really like the themes of this book, like the supernatural element, but it also points to Christ.
Yeah.
A lot of fantasy books do that. But this one is in a more real setting, too, because he's on a boat in our world, but it's this supernatural background.
Yeah. I just love it. I love the images, the darkness. I don't typically love dark books, but it's really the supernatural. Not that it's dark and dreary necessarily, but it's like dramatic and serious. And it's beautiful. This is a great poem to have memorized. It's absolutely beautiful. And the themes, I agree with both of you. Wow. Doing a podcast on a class is really cool because I get to re-listen to our conversation and gives me a lot of space to reflect on the poem, but also on teaching and the purpose of the reading. This one is top-notch for me because the point of poetry and really the point of education and the point of life is seeing the beautiful snakes. Beauty transforms us. God has put things in the world for us to see that lift our eyes to actually see Him. It is the revelation of God. There's such a high aim for our readings and our conversations with our children that we would not have any confidence in if it weren't our confidence in the help of the Holy Spirit revealing Christ to us. Since all things are Christ's, since we are His servants, we can go forth and read confidently, looking for the beauty. The conversations I have with Adeline and Esther are coming after years of reading together, years of discussing, years of reflection. So I encourage you, keep investing in your family. Use the tools that God has given you of books and of His world, and try to see past to the greater reality. There's a deep, glorious purpose to the work that you're doing as a parent. One more note. If you've enjoyed reading along with us in this podcast, you need to prepare yourself because we're about to dive into the book by C.S. Lewis, Till We Have Faces. So you need to buy yourself a copy or buy the audiobook because we've started reading this book and started discussing it, and it has been so phenomenal and actually ties in with this wonderful theme of the transformation of beauty so well. And we want you to join us. So after the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, we'll start releasing those podcasts. All right, let's get back in. After I read and discuss a poem, I love to hear it one more time. It's so good for my imagination and for my reflection. All right, let's read it again. Starting out with this wedding guest being afraid is really hard to capture in my tone.
Yeah.
Read
Part the fourth. I thought it'd be over dramatic, starting out, but whatever.
Too over dramatic.
Oh, wow. Okay, ready? Part the fourth.
That's going on there.
Okay. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, part the fourth. I fear thee, ancient mariner. I fear thy skinny hand. And thou art long and lank and brown, as is the ribbed sea sand. I fear thee, and thy glittering eye, and thy skinny hand so brown.
Fear not, thou wedding guest. This body dropped not down. Alone, all alone, alone on a wide, wide sea. and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony.
The many men so beautiful, and they all dead did lie, and 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I.
I looked upon the rotting sea and drew my eyes away. I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead men lay.
I looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or ever a prayer had gushed, a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust.
I closed my lids and kept them closed, and the balls like pulses beat, for the sky and the sea, and the sea and the sky lay like a load on my weary eye, and the dead were at my feet.
The cold sweat melted from their limbs, nor rot nor reek did they. The look with which they looked on me had never passed away.
An orphan's curse would drag to hell a spirit from on high. But oh, more horrible than that is a curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights I saw that curse, and yet I could not die.
The moving moon went up the sky, and nowhere did abide. Softly she was going up, and a star or two beside.
Her beams bemocked the sultry main, like April hoarfrost spread. But where the ship's huge shadow lay, the charmed water burnt away, a still and awful red.
Beyond the shadow of the ship, I watched the water snakes. They moved in tracks of shining white, and when they reared, the elvish light fell off in hoary flakes.
Within the shadow of the ship, I watched their rich attire, blue, glossy green, and velvet black. They coiled and swam, and every track was a flash of golden fire.
Oh, happy living things! No tongue their beauty might declare. A spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unaware. Sure, my kind saint took pity on me, and I blessed them unaware.
The selfsame moment I could pray, and from my neck so free, the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea.